Hi there, welcome to Rappler Talk. I'm Boris Joaquin, and this afternoon we're going to talk about something very interesting. We're going to talk about creativity in the workplace. And to join me in this conversation is the chairman and CEO of McCann Work Group Philippines, Mr. Raul Castro.
Hello.
Welcome to Rappler Talk.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Raul is a multi-awarded icon in the world of advertising. And you probably know one of his campaigns called Kwentong Jollibee. A lot of you probably like that and shared it to many people.
Thank you for sharing if you did that.
I watched
but
it.
I cannot say that it's mine alone. When you said his work, I think it's there's no such thing as his work in the job that we
sorry,
do.
yeah,
So, no,
you're
it's
right,
okay.
you're
But
right.
you know, a lot of people in the office authored that, right? Maybe the thing that I did was that. Just choose it and then, you know. But a lot of people are on it when in the creation of that and many others.
Before we get into that, Raul, I'm just interested, how did you get to where you are right now?
Well, just like any fresh graduate, I think I applied. I actually
Okay.
walked in the streets, knocked on doors, gave my resume. There's not a lot to say in your resume other than the course that you had in the schools you've been to, right? So nothing different from what I believe the others. I mean, I think it's a little easier now. You can email your resume to a lot more people. I literally had to go to Makati, knocked on different agencies, you know, and applied, went through the interviews, took some copy tests.
Yeah.
And
But have you ever, from the very beginning, have you ever wanted to become an ad person?
you know, the not so good thing about my generation, right? There were not a lot of choices.
Okay.
The only decision that you have to do is be successful, right? It was the 80s. So you'll just have to be successful. So I actually applied in certain things that I thought would give me happiness. So,
Okay.
but somebody did tell me that, you know, maybe you should try advertising. I said, oh, you mean people do that for a living? because you just see the ads, right?
Yeah.
And they look like these 30-second things. And they're kind of easy, right? So I said, oh, that should be easy. Yes, I did. I applied and was fortunate to have landed a job and plowed through.
But just looking back, what would you have wanted to be? I mean, do you have an ambition? I want to be a newscaster. I want to be an engineer, a doctor.
You know, the 80s. That was the time when success was God. You know, whoever gets the first job, whoever gets the first Armani suit, whoever gets the first brand new car is ahead, is better than the others, right? So there was that pressure. No, I did not have any. I graduated at a very early age. I don't think one is ever prepared to work, right?
Yeah.
So no, but the first suggestion that was given to me was to go to advertising, and luckily, you know, I don't know if it's luck or you just plowed through because there's not a lot of choices, right? You'll just have to be good at what you do, and that was the first thing that I did, and I just like kept on hammering it, and got somewhere.
What did you like about advertising in particular?
I like the fact that you can be abnormal in that job, and you don't have to be normal. You don't have to be normally dressed. You don't have to wear a tie.
It's the out-of-the-box things.
It is. You know, it felt like school, right? People can talk and laugh, and you're actually rewarded for being strange, right? I mean, I think normalcy is not exactly the thing that you are rewarded for or are promoted for. Right? It allows you to be a child. It allows you to be curious. It allows you to live other people's lives because you have to talk about the consumers. You have to speak in behalf of the brands to talk to different kinds of consumers, right? For example, I found myself writing something for infant nutrition without having breastfed or without having gotten pregnant, right? So you kind of imagine what it's like. You go to hospitals, you do your own research, you buy the books, and you imagine what it's like for your nipple to be sucked. I think that's where we cut. I'm sorry.
We're live. So that's done for.
Okay. It's that. It's the permission to be talking and understanding different kinds of people. And up to now, many years later, it still fascinates me to be able to put yourself into the shoes of other people and truly understand their lives. It's amazing.
I have a sensing that that's what you really liked about your
I
work.
think so, because It is. I think it's. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's normal. But when I was a
Watching
kid,
people.
no, watching people. I mean, I used to go and drive into different areas in the city and just imagine, look at the houses and what kind of life goes on in that kind of house, right? Or you drive to Baguio and you pass by the rice fields and you have a little kubo. And what is it like to be 7 o'clock in the evening? What are they doing? I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by it.
You're interested in insights about people.
Well, to find out the truth, what it's like. I mean, I think my life is just one of the many billions of other lives being lived. I think to truly understand what people are going through, what drives them, what motivations, make them act, what desires they act on, what is taboo, what their dreams are. I don't know. It's always more interesting to be the other person, right? So I'm fascinated.
You think that's the secret behind successful big ideas and advertising?
Well, maybe yes. Maybe yes, because it is not a job for self-expression. It's not a job, it's not a platform for your individual artistry or your passion, right? You are speaking on behalf of the brands that you're handling to the consumers they want to reach and to the consumers they want to be talking to.
Yeah.
So it is your ability to remove yourself, the person that you are, get into the heart and mind of the consumer, report the view from there using words and pictures that will ring a bell with other consumers. Yeah.
Hey, Raul, I don't know if you keep track, but how many awards have you won so far because of your creativity and the work that you've done?
Honestly, I don't know. And no, I don't keep track. I think awards are important, especially when you're young, because it validates you. Right? It validates you. But I think bigger than that is when you know that you have been part of the conversation.
Okay.
I mean, it was easier then. You ride the Jeep and, people are singing the jingle that you created, or you ride the bus and people are talking about it. It's easy, also easy now because the feedback mechanisms are there. Social media is there, etc. It's all, or when used to be you show the ads in the movie houses and you sit there and you watch that ad and people react, right?
Yeah.
When people don't react, you want to die. So that's normal. I think the reward is really at the end of the day that you're able to move people, shake the marketplace, and create a difference in the performance of the brands that you have been given the privilege to work on.
It's the affirmation that your work is validated by this feedback. And what's the most important award that you've, just going back perhaps, because you've lost track already of how many awards you've received, but early in your career, what's the most significant award that you've received?
God, I don't know. As a matter of fact, I didn't used to go to the award shows. No, it's not something that personally drove me. I think I was very much interested in the actual presentation. I think, you work for 2-3 weeks on a campaign, right? Blood, sweat, and tears, sometimes, over 24 hours, and then you're there on the presentation. It's live. You're given an hour and a half to do it as a young kid. Then it's your time to turn on the presentation, and you win the account, right? Or you win the pitch. Yeah, that's an immediate one.
Okay.
Right?
That drives you, that gives you...
Because mabilis.
Yeah.
Diba? Some of the things I personally did not win awards. So, iba yon. It's like asking me what are your favorite ads. You've done a lot of ads. Which one is your favorite? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know because it's never about you when you write it. I think it's always, what is the problem we aim to solve? What can we do? What kind of idea do we need? And if it pushes the needle, makes the needle move in favor of what your agenda is, then I guess that is success. And I guess I find some joy in that. Now, I help others do it. As the leader, I help others do that. And when it happens for them, I'm very glad, I'm very thrilled.
Very, very well said. I'm interested about your work ethic, Raul. How do you go about work? How do you pursue hard work? And how do you teach hard work to the people that works for you?
Well, I think, I don't know. One of the people always said, I always say, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. I like that because parang actually the matatanda will say this, kung gagawin mo rin naman, gawin mo na ng tama. Di ba? If you're gonna do it, overdo it. So I like overdoing things. Right, and so no 2 days are alike in the business that we're in. Much like Rappler, I would say, the good thing about our business, there are no 2 days alike, right? Sometimes you'll have to be there at 6 in the morning. Sometimes you'll have to, be there at 10. Sometimes you start with a crisis. Sometimes you start with a happy news. Sometimes, it's a creative meeting. Sometimes it's a business meeting. Sometimes it's a client meeting. There are no 2 days alike, and I think that's what makes this job fantastic.
I like that principle. It's saying that you pursue excellence because when you can do it, then you overdo it.
Right, and it's
Not
also a
alike,
matter of priorities. I mean, diba, it's I always say there will be a lot of things to do, right? But time is finite, energy is finite, right? So the constant prioritization of what is important is an ability that you must develop, because even your brain power is finite. So the ability to focus on what should be done first, because it has bigger repercussions on either the business or the client's brands or the production of a certain idea is important.
I want to talk about more on the people that you lead. You have around 300, 270
Maybe,
employees.
you can go 270 to 300 at any given time.
What's the breakdown of that? How many people
Well, a
are...
large number would be below 30.
Okay,
I'm
very
sure
young,
more
very
than
young.
half, right? More than half would be below 30, right? Maybe 70% will be below 35. Right?
And the rest are Gen Xers.
There are people like me who are ageless. Sorry. Yeah, the rest are Gen Xers. I would suppose, yes, I'm a Gen Xer.
Yeah.
I think.
So
I get confused with X,
So
Y,
the oldest
Z.
would be around 55 or 60?
I'm not going to be revealing my age to you, Boris.
I'm not asking your age.
Well, I'm the CEO, so I would suppose that they would assume that that's the guy who's older. So, am I
didn't assume
embarrassing
that.
you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. No, well, because it's interesting to know that a lot of your employees are millennials, so to speak. They're below the age of 30, and so, what advice would you give millennials nowadays? You just brought up, you just shared to us how you were building your career in the 80s, and that kind of reveals your age. You know that, right? So, and then now seeing the landscape and how young people are pursuing their careers now, what's your perspective on that?
Well, I think the fact that you brought it up, you are part of the discussion that millennials are a different breed altogether and are different from when we were in their ages. I have a different take on that because I work with a lot of them and I get to talk I drink with a lot of them. So I don't think they're any different. The people who are 25 now are no different from how I was like when I was 25. I think the only difference is, I wanted challenges, I wanted to succeed, I wanted to express myself. I think the only difference is there are different platforms where they can express themselves. There are more choices, right? But I don't think the sentiments are exactly different. So I don't view them
So different
as
animal.
different, or as
You just call them animals.
some people would call them problematic, or problematic on managing or leading them. I happen to enjoy my time with them, right? Dealing with them, it's very easy. I mean, just like me, I stayed in my first in my. I've only had maybe a couple of jobs, right, or a couple of offices. I stayed. I stay long. I'm quite rare, right? I stay long. I stay long.
Average of how long? How many?
Oh, the first one was 20, and I'm already in McCann for over 10.
Okay.
So yes, I started when I was 10 years old. So I stayed long because I liked the people. I kept on being challenged. I was allowed to make an impact on the greater, of the operations, which I think is what every young, ambitious person would like to be granted. Right, so we try to be the same, right? We have across the McCann network regionally and globally, a program called McCann Millennials, which technically brings the millennials at the forefront of our operations. Normally, you would leave them at the tail end, normally, right? But here, they're allowed to create programs that can impact on the culture, on the processes, right, on the initiatives that we do, which I think is very, very important. And you know what? You learn a lot from them.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, we always say make a brand meaningful to the consumer, which is the general mission that we have in McCann. If 60% of our population are millennials or below 30, then you would know that these are the people that's driving consumption. Then these are the people you need to learn from, correct? So I guess it just makes business sense that you give them that stage so that everybody else can learn from them.
Let me set aside the McCann Millennial program. I'm interested in that. I like what you said a while ago, that there's really no dichotomy, like from one generation to another. Essentially, it's the same type of motivation, the same type of ambition and drive and all that. And I guess that's what a lot of people would like to hear and need to hear. So what advice would you give the youngsters nowadays in pursuing a career, in making it successful? Because it's still the same ambition,
yes,
right?
I can only talk about my experience, right? I have been fortunate to have found an organization that allows me, to be the loud person that I am, the passionate person that I am. That's set with, a culture is always shaped by the leaders and the people around it.
Of course.
Right? I happen to like the values. I happen to like the people and respect them. I think respect is more important than actual just like, right? Because people you like, you will dislike at some point. There will be times, but I think if there is respect, then and you know clearly what the organization stands for, it's easier to stay longer. I will advise people, the young people, to stay longer, gather some moss. If there is
gather some
moss, you know what they say, a rolling stone gathers no moss. I think moss is important, so you got to mossify yourself.
I love it.
If you trust the people, right, and you like the job, I guess that you're paid well enough, stay longer, because then you begin to develop things and realize things about yourself. You worry about getting better and better and better. If you just keep on moving, and that is a tendency, because it's easy to move. There are a lot of choices, at the tip of a finger, which company has an opening, and and the skills that you're taught in school will allow you to be employed, in so many ways. I think if you stay longer, you worry less about making pakikisama to the new office. You're not a starter, right? You become a starter if you keep on jumping and jumping and jumping. Right?
You're growing roots.
You're earning more, sure. Hopefully with every jump you get paid. But I think you gotta roots. I think roots are important, and they're the ones that will eventually turn to wings. Because after a while, you don't worry about the politics. You don't worry about making an impression because you know everybody. Then you can concentrate on just being better, right? Then you are given the permission to experiment, to be curious, to be different, to be the person. And you will change as you get older. I mean, you're going to be different because you'll be exposed to more. They will trust you more. They'll give you more assignments. You'll know things about yourself that you didn't know. You're going to be pushed. You're going to be given stretched goals. And I think it's for your learning. It's for your development. I think what you develop and you keep on moving is just that. Right? Starting over. Then you will be a very good starter.
I love what you're saying. I think and a lot of listeners and viewers right now really needs to hear this. Because I hear some young people say that, okay, 2 taon na ako sa company na to, ang tagal ko na. But you're actually saying otherwise. Growth is achieved when you actually grow roots, and it might turn out to be wings.
Yes, but then again, I think it is incumbent upon the leaders to make sure that the culture is a culture that you'll want to stay in, right? It's got to be two-way. It cannot be tell that to the young people and then you're a devil inside or something. No, it can't be that. That's why, as I said earlier, the McCann Millennial State and many other things, it will impact the way you are structured, your organizational design. Your processes will change to be more inclusive and to be less hierarchical, right? How you deal with each other will all change. And you have to be conscious because at the end of the day, it's culture. I think more than strategy, more than everything else that will make you do the things that you ambition to do.
You should know what you're talking about. You just self-appointed yourself as the chief culture officer.
Well,
of
only
McCann,
because
right?
when they said, what do you think is the most important thing that you do? I said, well, it's a business that thrives on the individual talents of people. And you try to, if you have talent X, you want to hire the next time talent Y, talent A, talent B. You don't want 2 talent A's and 2 talent X's, right? So you try to get all of these people with different backgrounds, different expertise, different interests, different hobbies, right? And you try to put them together and make them work.
Yeah.
And then I realized, you know, it's not easy to make all these different people work together. So you'll have to invest in culture. You know, the ability to create harmonious teams, you know, to function properly, on time, and liking each other. I think that is important because it is a business that wants to do ideas. You know, the more different the ideas, the more different people you will need, right?
The more diverse.
And the more diverse. And how do you get them working together is a different thing altogether. And if I were to rank, you know, the thing that I must be, the most important thing that I have to do, I think it's culture, right? To get the blood of the agency going and to get the passion moving and to be able to have the resilience and, you know, so there will be days that are not so good, you'll be knocked down, right? The ability to dust it off and get up again and do the same thing all over, right?
So how did Raul Castro do it?
Well,
How
a
did
lot of
you-
hard work too, so I suppose. No, well, I don't know, but I don't know. I've had my share of trouble. I've had my share of disappointment and frustrations. I think that's par for the course. As a matter of fact, looking back, I think I learned more from those things
From those
than from the
mistakes.
successes.
Okay.
Di ba? Kasi if you succeed in project X, the tendency is to repeat that for project Y. And only when you fail do you start looking at things differently. I mean, growing up, right? So I cannot say that mine was different. The only thing that perhaps I did differently was stay long in one company and then stay long in the next one.
I'm talking about the culture, Raul. How did you do it? How did you start shaping the workplace culture?
I think vision. Vision is important. I think you want to know what is the ambition, where do we want to go,
Okay.
why is this important, and you'll have to keep on talking about it. And you know, different people in the different departments of the agency will accept that differently, right? So how you say it for these people, how you say it for these people will have to vary. It's also definitely got to be aligned with what they believe is correct. It's got to be aligned with the things that motivate them too.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just say it because I decided that's the vision or something. No, it will have to be aligned with what they believe is correct too. And chances are, you know what, if you really dig deep, we're all in it together. We have the same dreams and we have the same ambitions.
And they have to really
Generally.
match, right?
I think then that's how you communicate it in a way that people will find a truth in what you're saying, you know, a truth that they can embrace.
And how about the McCann millennial? What were the innovations that you did in your group in order to make
Well,
sure
a
that...
lot of things, but nothing like, you know, invented this. There's McCann Millennials, which I think allows them to have an impact on the many things in our operations. But I think infrastructure was also important. How we design the organization, how we design our processes, we bring them in as early as the first step. You know, before you do any ideation, you take a look at the issue that the brand is facing and discuss what problem are we solving, right? Before you're looking for insights comes next, you know, looking at the tools. They're there from the start. It was different in my time. You know, I was there at the, you know,
Tail end.
at the tail end, right? I mean, you know, I want to be where the action is, right? I mean, every young person wants to do that, right? So I think we bring them in. As a matter of fact, sometimes we get them to tell us about, you know, what they believe the consumer is like. I mean, I just finished a presentation where it was led by the young people. Half of the things that they said, not half, more than half, I said, huh? What's that, right? It took me 5 hours to understand it. I mean, but what's going on in the internet, what memes are they sharing, what GIFs are going viral, are different, right? So I'm like, oh, Okay, but if you look at it deep down, it's generally the same kind of silliness that I used to enjoy when I was a kid.
Minus the platform.
It is a different platform, and they're very savvy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think we really are in the creative revolution because everybody can edit, everybody can mash up things that will give you a different effect all over. So it's really, there's a lot of creativity going on.
So give us a few practical tips on how do we keep these young people committed, engaged, and therefore high-performing?
Well, first, don't call them young. Because by calling them young,
yeah.
you kind of feel that they're inferior to old, right? You call them young, they'll call you old. And either way,
But to
pareho
some
kayong
people,
talo.
it feels like it's a compliment.
Well, to old people, then it will feel, you look young. Oh, thank you very much. But I remember when I was young, I didn't want to be treated like a young person.
Correct.
I mean, I don't think even the 9-year-old wants to be treated like a 9-year-old, right? That's the first thing. I don't think you call them young because the minute you call them young, you already kind of
Categorizing
relate
them.
other things with it. The minute that you call them that they're different from you, especially because of the age, you define them already.
Yeah.
Right? I think
Good
first
point,
you'll have
good
to, maybe instead of calling them, call them a colleague, call them a partner. I think that's more for you because it's how you treat them that will make them perform well or stay longer or be engaged. I know I was like that when I was 22 starting out, right? I didn't want to be called the junior copywriter, right? It means...
But some work titles do put junior there, right?
Yeah, then maybe we can change the titles. But I think more
Have
than
you?
titles, yes, I think we have, but not for the purpose of making people feel better. I think it's the purpose of you will now be given different accountabilities and different
That's good.
responsibilities,
That's good.
right? So with it comes a certain title because you'll have to be reminded of what you should be doing, right? So more that. I think really, if you have to change one thing, if you have to get a tip, I don't think you should call them millennials. I don't think you should call them young. I think you should call them partners. You should call them colleagues, because everything will follow from there. Right?
Very well said.
Yeah, you put them on equal footing. I mean, they know something you don't.
And how do you sustain that? Creativity, ingenuity, innovation.
Well, the mood and the vibe, you'll probably hear the word culture so many times. I mean, you know, I think culture is important. I mean, if people are engaged, if people are having fun, I mean, nobody wants to go to a serious office. I mean, I cannot imagine any other job for the kind of person that I am, you know, and I'm not going to bash any job, right? But I cannot be, you know, well, no offense to where we are because it's extremely quiet right now, maybe because my voice is taking over, but I cannot work when it's very quiet. You know, in the office, I'm known to sing in the corridors.
They're only doing it for us, Raul. Because
Are they? Oh, what a respectful, polite set of...
Oh, no, go ahead. You were saying.
So I think it's very important that you are allowed to do things that are different. So, I mean, I would probably start singing in the corridors. I've been known to do that. My language is not as serious, I think, because, I mean, they'll take the cue from you. And when I'm not in a good mood, I think I try to hide myself because, you know, the mood of the office will technically emanate from the person leading it. So I'm very conscious of how I act and behave because it will affect the mood and how productive they are.
One of your leaders describe you as a leader who puts the spotlight on other people.
Well, yes. You know, there are some things that age will just give to you. One of them is humility. One of them is wanting to do what's happened to you to others, right? I'm not a believer in the concept of the Lone Ranger, one larger-than-life individual being able to do everything. I think there's just too many loose ends to tie. There's very short time, a lot of things to do. I don't believe there is a lot. Neither do I think the fortunes of one company, as esteemed as the one I'm leading, should be pinned on one person alone. I think there should be a lot of you There should be ambassadors. There should be people who live it and breathe it and talk about it to other people. We have a lot of clients, and it's impossible that one person. So I'm thankful. What's the name of the leader? Maybe we'll promote them. But,
I'll tell you later.
Okay, but it's good because I really wanted to push, the other people to the same way circumstances have pushed me, right? But I think eventually it will be good for them, it will be good for the company, it will be good for the brands that we lead. I don't, the concept of the Lone Ranger or the concept of one person being the king or the queen, I don't believe in that, not in the kind of business that we're in.
I like your leadership perspective. That is excellent, Raul.
Thank you.
What's your favorite project so far?
I've been asked that so many times. I've probably forgotten all the projects I've done after being in this job for a long time. But I don't think there is a favorite one. It's like asking you, you have 2 children, who's your favorite? Can you choose?
I can't tell you online.
I hope your children were not watching.
I love you both.
I don't think so, because I don't think there are 2 projects that are alike, right? One project is different, one brand is different, or another brand will be facing a different problem. I think I'm very concentrated on were we able to solve the problem successfully,
Okay.
right? Were we able to bring into fruition the ambition that we have set out for that project, then I will like it. So I guess the successful ones are the ones I like more, right? Now, if you ask me personally, but you personally, Raul, okay, not the CEO, what do you like? Well, there are some projects that are talking to you as a consumer and as a person, not as a CEO. I mean, in the same way that a 25-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 12-year-old will prefer some versus the others because it talks to them the same way they want to be talked to, or it understands the motivations that they need. Because while I'm a CEO of an advertising company, I am a consumer too. I buy things. I go to the grocery, not as often. I shop online. I do all of those things too, right? And there are things that I like because of the way it talked to me, because of the way it understood what I think. I'd like to be understood the way I like things.
I like what you're saying. I like the fact that you're saying you like projects that people worked hard together for. It's more like the internal things that other people are not seeing from the outside. I mean, they may not have won awards, but if they have been, I mean, if you have really collaborated and contributed, then it's a project that
We
you
were
like.
working just this week, or last week, we were working on a project that did not go our way, right? So a lot of our people were sad about it. And I said, I said, well, I never will do things because they will be approved or not, because you're bound to lose your mind, right? I mean, we pitch ideas and all of that. So if, for example, in this particular project, the team stretched enough to realize new things about themselves and discover new things and create new things, and then they believe that what they did is superior or is the best or is better, that is the victory, right? You have already upped your personal best. You were able to do something today that you could not do yesterday.
Yeah.
We were able to work with new people today harmoniously, wonderfully. You had fun during while doing the hard work. So much fun that it wasn't hard work, right? You discovered new things and you enjoyed the output, right? Now, that's, I think, the real victory, right? Some people may not like it. Some people will not give it to you. Some people will not patronize it or will think different. That's okay, because neither should you be doing projects for the approval of some people.
Wonderful, yeah.
I mean, then that will manghuhula ka. I mean, you might as well be in a different profession. You have decided to join a job where you will find your truth, what you believe is truth, tell it well, pitch it, right? To the best that you can, right? Sometimes it will go your way, wonderful. There will be days it will not. There will be days it will not be approved. It will not go your way, right? You cannot pin your self-confidence, your happiness on that, right? Because that's allowing yourself to be ruined by the opinions of others, right? I think as long as you believe in it, and you did the best that you could, I don't think anyone can ask you to do more, right? And so you should find happiness in the struggle, not so much in the output, your personal output. How it's going to be received, that's, but better than doing something you don't believe in, just as long as it will be received well. So I don't know which one is more painful.
That's a wonderful philosophy to share. I'm wrapping up, Raul.
Are we? I told you I talk too much.
I wish we had more time. But since you gave that wonderful philosophy, is there anything that you want to tell us? I mean, if there's 1, 2 things that you want our watchers to actually capture from your life and your work, what would that be?
Okay, it's a world where a lot of people are talking, and not everything that's being said there is correct. And so I think you'll have to be very truthful to yourself and be very careful how you navigate towards everything that is being said out there. I think very important is find your truth, and you fight for it, and you strive to keep on telling it, and you tell it as best as you could, because there are many other people telling stories. As we in McCann say, there's nothing that can change the fortunes of a brand or a person or anything quite like the truth well told. Thank you.
Very well said. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed our time together here in Rappler Talk. With us is Raul Castro, the CEO and chairman of McCann Work Group.
World Group.
Philippines.
I know it's hard to manage.
I used to be saying McCann Erickson, so it's
Well,
used
we're
to be.
bigger now.
You are. Thank you, Raul, for
Thank
being
you,
with
Boris.
us.
Thank you for
I hope you guys enjoyed
inviting
this.
us. Thank you.
Have a good day.